So let's talk about what you have in pin number 3.
Pin number 3 is another Kelso pin. It's a darker cock.
Okay.
They come a little bit darker sometimes, and this cock, he kind of stuck out to me because very good attitude towards everything. I mean, I could set him down, pick him up. He just whatever. I can set him on the bench. He'll come back talking to me. I mean, he just had a real good attitude.
Right.
And in a performance, he just showed me that little bit extra. So I mean, he made it to the brood pen.
To the brood pen. And this number 3, is he a relative or is he off of something I think you talked about in pin 1 or 2? Was it?
He's related to pin 1, 2, or he's actually related to both pins 1 and 2 because of the cock side. Going back through the lineage.
Okay.
I believe like the granddad or something like that. He's out of that.
Okay. Okay. So this one right here in your pin 3, what do you have him in the pin with?
I've got him in with 2 of his daughters. I was wanting to line breed back to him to kind of capture his genetics and his attitude and that little bit extra that he brought to the show ring.
Right.
So, and even the hens, whenever I catch them, they're very calm. They don't squall or nothing like that. I mean, they're just good hens. I mean, they're just good-minded hens, and that's pretty important in a brood pen.
Right. So, like we have been talking about in the previous parts, or the previous brood pens, is attitude and temperament is very important as well. Besides the confirmation aspect and the characteristics when it comes to the performance, you like a stable-minded, calm type of bird that's a part of your selection process of what you're going to determine and what you're going to be putting in a brood pen.
It just makes it so much easier to fool with them and makes it enjoyable.
Right. And I know we have all had those fowl that we really like, but they just hard to handle. Some of them can just be so, like man fighters or not even man fighters. Some of them just get so excited, that they really, really become hard to handle. And it's like, you know what? It's a lot of good fowl out there that I don't have to deal with this aspect of it. So some guys just go ahead and, I guess, move away from it.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys. I've had good families that they just didn't have a good mental attitude towards everything, so I got rid of them.
Right. So tell us a little bit about the hens that you have in there. You said they're his 2 daughters.
Yes.
They're Kelsos as well?
They're Kelsos. They're his daughters. They're pure Kelsos.
Okay.
And I just like those. They kind of stood out to me, and like I said, they're good temperament. Whenever I catch them up, they just didn't care. They care less.
Right. Tell me, how old are they?
They're 2-year-old hens. Both of them are. They're actually full sisters to the next pin that I have up.
The one that's in number 4 or the one that's in number 2?
Number 4.
Number 4. Okay. Right. All right. And you said on this cock right here came out on the dark side, but you said you get that sometime. Tell us a little bit about what kind of brings that out, or what caused that to pop up.
There was hatch put in them years and years ago, and that coming back out, it crops out every now and again.
Right. So that's kind of when people bring something in. And that's one of the things I guess some guys need to understand. When you infuse something into your family, you never completely ever get it back out, but you can kind of dilute it and water it down to where it's not coming out consistently anymore.
Right.
At least dominantly.
Right. That's like some of my brood pens, everyone knows the story behind Cecil Davis. He bred Doc Hatch into him. I still get blue legs.
Oh, so, you still do, huh?
Right.
Got you. Okay. All right. So let's talk about now what you have in brood pen number 4.
Brood pen number 4 is a son of the cock and brood pen number 3.
Okay.
He's a very well performer. He had a great mental attitude and everything. I could put him on the bench and he just come back cutting his wing, talking to me. He just wanted to be played with all the time. But I mean, he performed very well, and he just had everything, nice legs, nice plumage,
Mm-hmm.
good eyes, nice small head. I mean, he was
Mm-hmm.
just good looking cock and an enjoyable cock to fool with. So I put him in a brood pen.
Right,
Um,
right. So
and
he's
I
pretty
think
much has possessed some of the characteristics from
his
brood pen
dad,
number 3, his dad.
yes, yes, the cock at brood pen number 3, he had that little bit extra I mentioned. Well,
Right,
he passed it on to his sons, and all of them had that little bit extra. That's why I was trying to go back to him. So that's why I
right.
said brood pen number 4, and him in there, and I got 2 of his sisters, full sisters to him.
And
I'm
brood
trying
pen
to
number 4.
and brood pen number 4. I'm trying to get all those genetics that cock in 3 and brood pen number 3 has, but I'm
Uh-huh.
trying to get it all together in brood pen number 4 to see if it works.
Got you. So pretty much the way you running your brood pens and your breeding program on this particular Kelso family is all you already using uh cocks that your brood cocks have produced. You already
Yeah.
starting to use them in their brood pen because
Right, right,
they're pretty much exhibiting the traits that initially had you use the original brood cock.
exactly. Yes, yeah, they all have everything, from performance to looks and everything that the originals had.
Right. And
You
that's
know,
really speaks volumes as well because you're actually using in your brood pen the stuff that you're producing, but you're not waiting until the originals are too old to produce because you're seeing
mm,
enough promise out of their young cocks instead of them waiting to be 4 or 5 years old, or the original cock being 6 years old, 7 years old. He start to really decline on his production. You're not waiting to that point. You're
no,
really seeing
no,
stuff out of them that you say, you know what, I can start using them now because they exhibiting the qualities that I'm looking for.
right, yeah. Like everyone that knows me knows I go up on a hill and I sit with their bucket and a cup of coffee. I
Hmm.
watch my fowl. The
Hmm.
young ones growing up, I'm already picking future possible brood stags and pullets and stuff like that. Then you know
Right.
you'll get something to stand out to you,
Mhm.
and you keep watching it closer and closer as it matures. You know,
Right.
if it meets all the requirements you need, you don't have to wait to show it or anything like that. Put it in a brood pen, try it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I think that's very important. There's two aspects to that that's important. What you said
right,
uh, is sitting there observing a fowl from at a young age. Not saying you can't go out and buy a good brood cock because you can,
oh
but
yeah, you can.
yeah, you definitely can. So, but you like to sit there and observe them, and your selection process starts basically from what you're saying. The selection process starts when they're young.
Yes, yes. When they're running around, yes. Month old, I start watching them.
Mm, mm. And that's
So
very, very important. So, with again, spending that time out there watching them, what type of characteristics are you looking for? Because obviously at that age, what kind of characteristics are you looking for throughout this process of, growing from a young month old up to, 2 years old when you decide to put them in a
well, I
brood pen?
started looking for health, pretty much.
Hmm.
Do they stay healthy?
Right.
Um, do they back away from others? When you
Hmm.
throw feed down, do they back away from others? I like
Hmm.
one that's going to stay his ground. You know,
Mm.
how they carry themselves. How they react to things. All that comes into play.
Right.
You sit there and you watch the feathers coming out. If they have bad feathers or something like that, you got to cull some of them.
Right.
And that goes both ways. You potential broodcock or a cull.
Right.
So
So mental attitude is definitely a big part of your selection, and I guess that's the
yes,
part that you're kind of looking for at that young of
right,
age.
yes, yes, yeah. You gotta have good mental health to
Hmm.
do anything really.
Right. Okay, so let's go on now. So that was brood pen number 4. So
Correct.
before we move on to number 5, what does this cock look like in brood pen number 4? Which I know he's the son of brood pen number 3, but what does he look like? Because 3 was a
He,
little
he,
dark, you said.
yeah, he's a little darker too. He pretty much just looks like his daddy. He's
Mm,
on the darker side. So
mm,
for some reason I like darker chickens, so I breed some of them.
right, right. Well, I'm a fan of darker chickens as well, but um okay, so that's kind of how he look. And I guess, let's just talk a little bit about before we go to five. Did his father not only pass on that characteristics of that little bit of extra, but did he pass on like his stations, confirmation and stuff like
Yes,
that?
yes, yeah. Everything. I mean, they were all pretty much complete packages. They had good station, good feathers, good mental
Mhm,
attitude,
mhm,
nice little heads on them, and
mhm.
they're good little roosters. All
Right.
the way around.
And what size does this your Kelso family usually run?
They usually run anywhere between 412 to 5'2". It just depends.
Okay. Okay.
You know,
And I know we probably talked about this about the other two, but in his station, what they're like medium station?
they're pretty much like a high station rooster.
Okay.
They keep their tail up nice. They're not
Mhm,
any squirrel tail or nothing like that. They hold their tail up pretty nice.
mhm.
They're proud. They hold their head up pretty good. They're proud.
Right. Right. Okay. All right. So that's on number four. So we're going to talk about this final last pin and what you got going on there, the relationship to the prior pins, if any. And let us know what you got going on in number five.
Okay, number 5 pin. That's a hatch Kelso cock.
Okay.
Um, I'm breeding him over pure Kelso hens. Well, the
Okay.
cock he is out. He is a rooster out of the cock in pin number 1. He's a,
Mm,
he's a son over hatch hens. Um,
okay.
what I'm doing with that is I'm breeding. I'm just shooting a little hatch into the Kelso line to hopefully better health, more
Hmm.
bottom,
Hmm.
things like that, better bone. Because
Hmm.
I mean, you breed a certain family, even if you're breeding like I do with the other 4 pins, I'm breeding them
Right.
apart and then breeding them back together. You still sometimes need a little something to shoot into them to bring the health and the bone and the
Hmm.
stamina and stuff back. So that's what
Right.
I'm doing there. So I'm going
Right.
to breed it down to where it's minimum.
Mhm.
I'm hatching them, and then I'll start shooting some of that into my pure Kelsos.
Okay. Now tell me this particular hatch blood that you're using, is it some of the hatch blood that you already had on the yard or some of the hatch blood you went out there and picked up?
It's the hatch blood that I've raised for years. It's the same blood
Okay.
that I've always had.
Okay. So it's kind of you got a hatch family as well.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're going to talk about that. We'll also talk about that probably in your upcoming interview. We'll talk
All right.
about also the hatch family as well. So tell me this. Um, with your hatch family and not to veer off on another family, but are you using the same breeding formula or method with all your families, or is it, you switch it up depending on what family you breeding with, or are you still kind of doing the same method that you're using with the Kelsos?
Well, the leapers that I have, um, they are the same but a little bit different. I blended the leapers years ago.
Mhm.
There are actually 3 families of leapers that I
Okay.
blended together. Um, I added a little, rooster here or hen there or something like that, just to bring up the size because my
Right.
original ones were small.
Right.
So just bring up the size, more bone,
Mhm.
more power, something like that. Just
Right.
stuff that they needed.
Right. Right.
So I
So
mean, I have line breeding stuff with those now as well because
right.
I got them about where I want them. So now I'm line breeding back.
So you're basically now that you got them to where you want, you using the same formula that you're using
Yes,
now in pin 1 through 4.
yes,
Father to daughters, mother to sons. Uh,
yes, yes,
uh, 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 okay, so you kind of using that same method as well, regardless
yes.
of what family that you're breeding. That method is kind of the method that has been successful for you.
It's always worked for me. Yes.
Mm. And tell me what using the method that you're using in pins 1 through 4, how long do you think you can run a family like that before you have to introduce say outside blood, which is interesting because as you've been talking about going through pin 1 through 4, how you talked about you're breeding out and then you bring them back together, which
Right.
technically you're breeding out, but you're breeding out within the same family. You're not
They're the
saying you're
same
breeding
family.
out by going to get some totally different blood.
No, no, they're all the same family. Just I'm separating them. I'm breeding them away
Mhm,
from each other, and then I can
mhm,
bring them back together. Like
mhm.
brood pen 1 and 2, they're being bred apart. I can even
Okay,
bring those two back together. And I
right,
can do the same thing with brood pen number 3 and 4. They're being bred apart. I can breed them back together, but then
right,
I can breed all 4 of them back into each other
right.
anytime. So
Anytime.
I really don't even need the pin number 5. But as the bloodlines get older and stuff, you need to shoot a little something in there, like the
Mhm,
hatch that I have,
mhm.
to bring the power and stuff like that back.
And have you ever done that breeding with that hatch of a Kelso? Um,
Yes, yes,
you
yes, I
have.
have. Yes,
Okay, and it has done well for you.
it's done very well.
Okay, good, good. So this is not like an experiment. You pretty much in past experiment phase, and this is just a project that you run that has
Right,
always been able to drip a little bit back into the original stock and keep everything
exactly,
flowing.
exactly. I've been doing it for a long time, and I don't do the hatch quite often, but
Mhm.
I don't have to. But every quite a few years, I'll say, well, it's about time to start breeding these up, just in case I need them.
Right. And I guess the other thing also too to note is the fact that you have 4 pins on a Kelso, and then you just
Right,
have 1 pin of the hatch Kelso. You don't
right,
have, out of 5 pins, 3 pins hatch Kelso, 2 pins Kelso. You are pretty much sticking to your meat and potatoes, which is the Kelsos on that
yeah,
family. You're maintaining that family,
yes,
and like you say, with the 4 pins, you can breed them probably another 7, 8, 9, 10, 7, 8, 9 generations, but you
oh yeah,
still
yeah,
have that little hatch Kelso over there to the side that you also doing that as well.
yes, yeah. I'm going to breed those, and I'm going to breed those just like I am the other ones. I'm going to breed them back towards pure.
Mhm.
I mean, they're never going to be pure, but they're going to be bred back towards this. Get much as the hatch as I can out.
Right,
But I can still start going from there and
right,
separating those in
right,
themselves.
right. So, well, guys, watching, Jeff pretty much ran out the system. He shared his method. Um, we use his Kelso pins as an example, but the method he's using, well, like you said, at least it works for him. But if you understand the basic of genetics, it makes a lot of sense what he's doing and how he's doing it. It makes a lot of sense in as far as minimizing the gene pool, keeping everything in house, and then not making it so tight that you're dealing with a lot of defects or
Right.
a lot of defects. So just to know that if you're watching this, understand not just so much focused on his Kelsos, but also because he said he'd been running the Kelsos since what? What is it? You said 96 or is it 86?
I've had Kelsos. I've started with the Kelsos myself in '88.
In 88. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So y'all guys can understand, like, listen to his methods, not just with the Kelsos himself, but listen to his methods. He's been able to use his methods to carry these Kelsos from the 80s till today. And again, he only has 4 brood pens. He has 4 brood pens, and then a fifth one is the cat is the hatch Kelso. But listen
Right.
how he set his method up on those 4 brood pens. Pretty much all of them are related, almost directly related. It's a father, then a son, then a brother that has the same father as number 2. 3 has the same
Yeah.
father as number 2, right? I think you
Right.
said. And then
Yeah.
number 4 is the son of number 3.
Right.
And the hens are either direct sisters,
Yep.
they're direct sisters from different types of from different hens. and,
Yep.
and, and some of them is actually the full brothers of the cock that they're in. So,
Right.
watch this whole thing over. I know it's short, but watch the whole thing over and really pay attention to Jeff methods that he's using. And I don't care if you know genetics from the academic aspect, like all the scientific terminologies and that kind of stuff, but understand this: I do advocate for going out there, educating yourself on the basics of genetics, of
Right.
inheritance and stuff like that. I think you should definitely know that. But understand this. It's not only one way to learn it. Like Jeff has learned this method from breeding these Kelsos since the 80s. So he has learned what worked, what hasn't worked. You know, I'm sure, Jeff, when you first started out, were you breeding them exactly the way you breed them today? Or is this a method that you kind of developed through trial and error and results since the 80s?
Well, I didn't have much choice but to breed them with the method I'm using today because when I got my start at them, I had to go back and breed more, and that's when I just started separating them. You know, I did
Right.
have a cousin that had them, and that's where I
Right.
got them from. So I
Right.
was able at the first to go back and get more,
Right.
but after that, I wasn't able to.
Right. So you figured out a way through trial and error of how
Right.
to maintain the family, all the characteristics that you want, minimizing the defects, and then also too is you have understood. How long have you been focused on or had this method of watching them starting your selection process when they're young? Is that something you always done, or is that something you picked up?
That's something I've always done. My father-in-law back in 87, 88,
Hmm.
me and him go out there, sit and watch chickens a lot, you
Hmm.
know, drink coffee and talk.
Hmm.
And that's what got me started doing that. And that's how he done it. He sat there and watch them. So I just kind of picked up from him.
Got you. Got you. Well, guys, we are not going to share all the Jews. Uh, Jeff Chapman from Chapman Farms, based out of Kentucky, is going to have an up and coming interview, and then we can go more in depth. But we just wanted to make this little short series, so we can get some direct information on a single topic, so guys can actually watch this, see exactly straight to the method, straight to the point, the meat and potatoes of it. But just to give y'all guys a little taste of the interview that we have coming up. Jeff is going to kind of share his whole entire program, but I wanted to make this short series on how he set up his brood pens, what his concept was behind his methodology as far as putting his brood pens and stuff like that together. So I think he covered that pretty well. Just know that we do have an interview coming up that we're going to interview him. He's going to take us through his health program, his biddy program, his selection process as well, on different families. He'll be talking about the characteristics of different families, but his whole program altogether. So we just kind of wanted to give you an inside view and a snippet of what we're going to have coming very soon. I hope y'all guys enjoyed this short series. It's going to be a two-part. This is part two. Part one, we went through pins 1 and 2. Part two, obviously, we did 3, 4, and 5. So just stay tuned, guys. It's going to be on YouTube, but just stay tuned. We got Jeff Chapman from Chapman Farms, based out of Kentucky. We'll be doing a full interview where he'll be able to share his whole entire program from the beginning to the end. So, guys, we look forward. Make sure you like and subscribe with us on YouTube and hit that bell notification so you won't miss Jeff Chapman's upcoming interview. So, y'all have a good night, and I hope y'all enjoyed this short series. All right, Jeff, you have a good night, brother.
Thanks, Jim. Have a good night.
Okay, bye-bye.